Hello, and welcome to Kindred, the podcast where my sister and I get to immerse ourselves for an entire hour with some of the coolest people doing some of the most meaningful work in support of animals and nature. Right?
Right.
Right.
That is true.
It's
That is true.
It's true. I mean,
you
I love
speak
my
the
job.
truth.
I love this podcast. I love you. But some people just have the most crushable jobs. I mean, can you have a crush on a job? I can. I actually can. Can you?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Some jobs are just like super cool, and you're like, wow, when I grow up, I want to do that. And then I realize I am grown up, but I do love my job. It's just today's guest's job ranks pretty high in job crushes, mostly because of who this person's coworkers are. Don't you think? That's really what it
agreed.
is.
Yeah.
But before we introduce you to our guest, I wanted to talk to you about a great way you can support us if you're interested. If you head to our website, kindredpodcast.co, on the homepage in the lower left-hand corner, you'll see a little yellow coffee cup. This is an app called Buy Me a Coffee. And that is where we use, and that's the app we use where you can make a one-time donation or a recurring donation if you'd like to. For the price of a cup of coffee, you can support us, and each one goes a long way in keeping our small, independent podcast alive and also thriving. So check out the links in our show notes for the app to make a difference today. And thank you so much for everyone who is supporting us thus far. We welcome to our new subscribers. Welcome to our new followers and listeners. We hope that you get every inch out of this hour that we always do. That's what we'll say. Shall we introduce you to our guest today?
Definitely.
All right, let's do it. So today we are speaking with Daniel Curry. He is a range rider and the founder of the nonprofit organization Project Griph, an org focused on wildlife conflict mitigation. So what this actually means is through methods executed on horseback with a team of dogs, Daniel works to support ranchers and farmers who are in conflict with wolves. He's a buffer between large carnivores and cattle or sheep. He's like a shepherd and a cowboy rolled into one.
He's like a shepherd with a way cooler name. A range
Yes.
rider. I mean, come on,
Range
that's almost like a kids TV show, like a superhero, range
Star
rider,
Wars-ish. Mm-hmm.
like superhero
Yeah.
level.
Right.
Sorry, that
Okay,
just hit me.
Should he wear a cape? Maybe he should wear a cape. That would help with the mitigation. Wolves would be like,
I feel
"Dude,
like
what's happening on that
could
thing? What's
go
happening?"
with his hair really nicely.
Exactly. Through humane and effective methods, Daniel works with people in support of creating a space where humans and carnivores can coexist and thrive. That's one of his main goals. So here's a quote from his website, projectgriph.org, describing his method. Quote, "We specialize in non-lethal wildlife conflict mitigation to help build a bridge between rural communities and our wildlife neighbors. We train and deploy range riders with our methods in the Western U.S., helping humans co-thrive with our environment," which is amazing. And so much needed. And this is a lively conversation. And Jen and I were super pumped to hear Daniel's perspectives on wolf conservation, you'll tell, and wolf recovery, and just how he is working not only for the wolves, but the humans who are really looking to find non-lethal and cohesive solutions to the human-wildlife conflict. I feel like we were also on horseback, cantering through this conversation with Daniel. It was great, and quite moving quickly and lively at times. So, shall we giddy up on out to Wolf Country and meet Daniel Curry and his crew? You ready?
I'm happy that there are people who can see that on video. Your little gallop a trot there was pretty key.
Right.
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. We will see you at the takeaway. Daniel, welcome to Kindred, and thank you so much for coming off the range to speak with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And it's a good day to be outside of the weather.
Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
you picked a
Great
good
timing.
day.
If you would, please introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
So my name's Daniel Curry. I've been working with wolves for a little over 22 years, and I basically run a nonprofit currently that helps people live with large carnivores. So I use non-lethal methods to help facilitate and foster peace between rural America and large carnivores.
And what's the name of your nonprofit?
Project Griph, Griph. It's the name of the first horse that I rescued from slaughter that works with me.
Oh, yes, we're going to
Oh,
hear about Griff any second now. But well,
Good
welcome and
boy.
thanks for joining us. Can you
Oh,
kind of,
thank you guys for having me.
yeah, for sure. This is a real treat for us. I'm super excited about the conversation. Can you kind of orient us? Like, where are you in the world and what's your landscape look like?
Yeah, so I'm located up in Northeast Washington, nestled up against the Canadian border, and as the wolf runs not too far from the Idaho border, but it takes me about 2.5 hours to get there, just with
Okay.
the topography. It's pretty mountainous out here. They're older mountains, so not like jagged mountains like the Cascade Mountains in central Washington.
hmm
I should have mentioned I'm in Washington State. I don't know if I did, but um, so yeah, it's very rural out here.
Okay.
A good
Yeah, you're up
term.
there.
Yeah, it's like bucolic. You roll by giant fields with round bales in the
Mm,
fall that they have gathered their hay, and the houses are really dispersed. So yeah, it's
Hmm.
pretty rural. It's pretty magical actually.
Oh, that sounds lovely. And you've got like mountains and then those lovely green valleys in the spring and summer, I bet.
Yeah, and the area is really heavily forested, so a lot of my
Okay.
time is spent out deep in remote forests with wolves.
Interesting. Okay. Well, Daniel, we have interviewed a few really amazing people who are working hard in their own right in support of wolf conservation. However, none with your specific methods, which is what caught our attention. I came across a really beautiful documentary about you titled Range Rider, directed by Colin Arisman, which circulated through many film festivals and I believe won awards. Um, However, what stopped me scrolling through Instagram was this image of a man on a beautiful horse with three adoring Doberman Pinscher dogs surrounding him. And I thought, oh, that's different, like working with Dobies. And I was immediately hooked. So, yes, and I highly recommend this short film. I think it's about 29 minutes. It's really beautifully shot and really, really well done. And it gives like really insight in what you do um, as a range rider. And just for our listeners, can you just give us a quick definition of what range riding is?
Yeah, no, not a problem, Kate. My method greatly differs from a lot, but so I'll give you kind of like my definition.
Okay, fair.
Um, it's an on-the-ground resource that helps guide the process of rural America living with large carnivores, specifically wolves. So you can think of it like this, though. Everybody's talking to me, and they're like, "Oh, that's a new thing, range riding." It's like, well, no, it's kind of it's an old profession. It's one of the oldest professions. It's basically I'm a cowboy or a
Right,
shepherd, just with a different
yeah,
mentality
right.
right.
on how I approach the cattle and how I approach where the cattle are grazing and what animals and other wildlife are grazing with them. So it's a much different scene than most of the Western movies that you've seen, but it's in many ways similar. I'm on a horse out in the backcountry for weeks at a time, acting as a buffer
Hmm.
between these large carnivores and human interests, primarily livestock. So,
hmm
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it sounds like a dream and actually very challenging all at the same time.
oh, yeah.
I'm sure you come up across some pretty crazy stories, but um, I'd love you to start us off with a short retrospective on how you got to the point on a beautiful horse named Griff out on the range with these three stunning boys named Bishop, Rook, and Knight. What led you to a life in wolf conservation?
Boy, well, as you'll get to talk to me, Kate, no answer is really short. All these stories are multifaceted and interconnected, but
I'll
I
put you on
guess
a
the
timer.
nutshell. Yeah. Give me the red light when it starts going. I guess
Fair.
the nutshell version is since I was 20, I'm currently 42. I've been working with wolves my entire span of my 20s and my 30s and now into my 40s. And it started with working with wolves in captivity. And I worked at a world-renowned wolf sanctuary in the west side of Washington, and then that progressed to watching basically news outlets report on wolves being shot by our state in my home state, in the northeast corner of my home state, somewhere where I hadn't really frequented at all.
Right.
Most of my time spent, in free time was out hiking in the Cascades. So I guess what led me to do this was realizing that something needed to happen, and it seemed like there was nobody stepping up. Not that that's anybody's fault. It's just wolves coming back in the landscape have offered some challenges for people that live with them, and it's kind of a newer thing, quote unquote, or air quotes, I guess. So
Right.
so basically, I in 2012 decided to move up to Northeast Washington. I took a map out. Plotted all the wolf packs that we knew of at that time. They were all consolidated in Northeast Washington, and I put my finger in the middle of that circle that I plotted on that map and found a town named Colville. I drove up here, basically just jumped right into it. Had no idea what I was going to do originally.
Okay.
I just knew something needed to be done. And so I was like, well, I have some skills with horses. Griph is the horse that I rescued from slaughter. He's the first horse. I rescued him in about 2009, and he's taught me everything about horses that I know.
So I'm going to pause you there because I want to get because this is a great story. You have to tell the story of Griph and how you found him actually. So you were at the wolf sanctuary. I think it's called Wolf Haven. Is that what it is?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so obviously you're getting hooked that way. How did you come to find Griph though? Tell us that story.
Boy, that's a really powerful story, to be honest. It'll hopefully remain, like Cowboy said, it was very an emotional time for me. So basically what happened is I was working at that wolf sanctuary, and then there was a horse sanctuary that was a few hours away from where I lived and where I worked. I lived on site for the majority of the time that I worked at the wolf sanctuary as on-site animal care and security for the animals. So I started taking my free time and volunteering at a place called Equine Aid, and just loved the people, loved their mission. They were trying to help horses, rescuing them from slaughter. Horses to me were like, when growing up, I viewed them as like a unicorn. It was never going to be something in my life. It was like we grew up poor. I was like, this is just an amazing experience to be around them. Didn't know anything about them. Had a volunteer at Wolf Haven at the time offer me a space he had a little chunk of land out there, and he had a horse pasture, and he actually was an old timer that grew up on a sheep ranch, and his name was Jim. Really good guy, really influential to me, a good mentor in many ways. And he's like, if you want, why don't you get a horse? You can put him out here. And I said, I don't like that idea. My gut response was like, unless I can look out the window and make sure my family member is okay, I'm really uncomfortable about having a family member far away.
I understand that. Yes, I get it.
Yeah, it's kind of like, basically have a horse in daycare forever, like that never comes home. It's like, I don't know, that just seems really sketchy.
Yeah.
So as time went on, he kind of kept prodding me a little bit, and one day he showed me this little, it was about an inch by inch, really grainy picture of this thumbnail of this horse named Castle on this website called SOS, which stood for Save Our Slaughterbound Equines.
Oh,
and he had a little timer next to it.
Here we go.
Yeah,
the timer. Oh,
I know the time they get you. I mean, it was like, oh my God.
Dear.
Rich, we'd have a lot more horses from that experience. But
right.
But yeah, so basically there is I told you this is the nutshell version, so I'm trying to keep it short.
No, we are here for it.
So there's this little thumbnail, and Jim says, how about this horse? Because I was looking for a big horse. I'm 6'5.5".
Oh my!
So,
wow.
Yeah, a lot of horses that I get on, like he had a little pony there that my legs would almost hang over.
Drag on the ground.
Yeah. When I'd ride the little pony, his name was Jack. I could, if he got tired, I could just put my leg out, and he could just lean up against me. It's like,
kickstand. You can kickstand your horse.
It's like, well, I could only ride him for about 2 minutes. So, anyways, I was looking for a draft ignorantly, not knowing what I was going to do. I was just like, I want a horse. I'm big. Get a big horse. Makes sense.
Fair.
So under the description of Griph on that little thumbnail, he was a draft horse. And I was like, oh, well, I thought about it for a moment, and I was like, I want that horse, Jim. And he's like, okay, well, let's not jump to conclusions. Let's keep looking. And
Nope.
every day that I'd go there and visit him, he'd be like, well, I found other horses. And I was like, nope, I know what horse I want. I know what horse I want. So I kept calling him, the SOS folks, the admin people there. And after a while, I couldn't get a hold of them, and his picture went offline.
Oh,
And
no.
Oh, I'm sweating, literally.
yeah, I panicked. I was like, "Oh my god, he, the timer
Yeah.
timed out. He's gone.
He's
in
dead.
a semi truck going to Canada or Mexico
Oh, no.
to be
Yep.
slaughtered." And it broke my heart, And Jim was like, "Well, we'll find you another horse." I was like, "No, that was my horse. That was it.
Yeah.
That was my shot."
Oh,
I
man.
screwed it up somehow because I didn't, rescue him quick enough. And anyways, oddly enough, I get this call. I don't know. It's probably only like 4 or 5 days later, from Jerry, the woman that ran Equine Aid and the horse sanctuary that I was volunteering some time at. And she said, well, I have a horse I want you to come look at. I was like, no, I don't want to look at any horses. And
Right.
I think you should look at this one. He's a big gray horse. And I was like, a big gray horse? She's like, yeah. I was like, what's his name? She's like, Castle. And I was like, are you kidding me? And so she ended up inadvertently rescuing him.
No
Bringing him to her.
way.
Yeah. She would regularly visit like the auctions. She saw him,
Oh.
thought of me for some reason because I expressed an interest in horses. And at that time, Jim was making an offer, so she rescued him with the
Wow.
intent of having me see him, and then if it didn't work out, she'd find a home for him.
Oh, wow.
And I immediately just lost my mind. I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Start
I was like,
sobbing
"You
on the
have
phone.
him?"
He's your
Yeah, I
long
was
lost
like,
pony you've not even met before is not dead.
Exactly.
Right.
So I was like, "Well, I'm gonna come up there right now." And she's like, "Yeah, please do." And
Oh.
I rush up there. I didn't even get to her house to say hello to poor Jerry and her husband Doug. I just ran. I saw him. I ran out in the field. He had a fly mask on. I went up. He was kind of like, "Who the hell are you?" I took the fly
He's like,
mask
bro.
off. I know.
You're
He's
coming
like,
in
"Man, I
hot
don't know
over here."
you. I've come from a pretty dire situation here."
Yeah.
You're just trying to hug me. So I ended up going up there, taking the fly mask off, and just making eye contact with him. And then I was like, "All right, buddy." And he's pretty thin, pretty messed up. He had been heavily abused. He actually found out that he hated men. When I went from that field to go talk to Jerry, she was like, "I was watching. I was surprised that he let you touch him."
Wow.
She's like, "Doug can't get close to him. He hates guys because there's a guy that rode him a total of 12 times." I did some research on his history, and he's got bit scars. So a bit, that's what your reins attached to.
Yeah.
I don't
golly.
use bits, but
Mhm.
so whoever was teaching him just ripped his lips
Was
back
way
about an inch
too
and a half.
aggressive. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
got horrible
Oh, sweet
cinch
baby.
scars. I mean, yeah, he was just
Oh,
not
man. Yeah.
not at all okay with guys because of his experiences. So
Yeah. Right on.
yeah, we it took us 2.5 years before I even asked him to carry me. I just wanted to know about horses. I wanted to learn about their world. I wanted to learn how they communicate. I wanted to learn how they work together. And he taught me that. I remember walking out in the woods. We'd go on hikes, and there'd be groups that machismo men. They're sitting there drinking their Busch Light beers, and they're like, you're supposed to ride those things, right? And he and I would just kind of calmly walk off, be like, yeah, thanks for the advice.
Yeah. Right. And keep
then
walking.
we started riding, and here we are. So
Wow,
he and I.
that is amazing.
So, wow, you really took your time and earned his trust and respect.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's lovely.
As
Good
you
for
should.
Yeah.
Amazing. If more people
He
could do
taught
that.
me everything about horses that I know, and I made him some
good.
promises in the beginning, like I'll never use a bit. I'm never going to beat you. We're all about. He taught me horsemanship, not horsemanship. That's something that we gotta say to each other, and that's how I teach my range riders. Is this is your partner. This isn't a tool.
Yeah.
This isn't a
Right.
instrument. This is
Right.
a being that you
That's
can
Not
work
right.
something
with.
to, right.
Yeah.
You're not trying to subjugate them. Yes. You're trying to work
Right.
with them. Yeah.
Totally.
And that's
And
why those guys will give everything out in the mountains. So.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And this is why the horses are just they're such beautiful beings, because they don't have to let you ride them. They actually don't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they do. And it's like even the worst of us ride them, like this guy who ruined him. It's just amazing. Well, long live Griph. What a story. That is just so unbelievable. It was obviously meant to be. And he's probably like, okay, who's this nerd coming at me hard? He doesn't even know me, but he's full of love and certainty. You were certain. Like, horses really like that. They like discerning energy. So he must have just known right away you were coming at him with only love and innocence and kindness. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. Well done.
Yeah, he gives me a lot of looks sometimes, like, oh, this guy, he's my
Oh, well,
human.
fair
So,
enough. Fair enough.
Do you still have him? Is he still with
yeah,
you?
nope, he's
Okay,
still one of my primary guys that I bring out to the mountains. So,
That's
nice.
amazing. So I want to switch to the dogs because that's also kind of an interesting, I mean, quicker story, but it's like, how did you when you went to pick a breed to help, with the support of wolf um, conservation, how did you end up with Dobermans?
yeah, so I've had dogs pretty much all my life since growing up. I rescued and raised some German Rottweilers and some Shepherd mixes.
Okay.
And at one point had 7 dogs. My last dog out of that group, his name was Bailey, and he died at age 16 and a half,
Wow,
which is pretty good for a big guy.
it is.
So about a year went by, and I was like, I'd like to get more dogs. I'd like to have dogs in my life again.
Yeah,
And
right.
so I was basically doing some research and trying long story short that one, doing some research on dog breeds, just finding out like what would be the best suitable dog breed to start
Hmm.
a range riding breed. I was actually going to basically start a range riding dog breed using a base stock of some breed, and I didn't know which one I was going to go to. So I was really looking around, really kind of kept gravitating and coming back towards Dobermans just because they're super athletic, super smart, very loyal. I mean, they're geared to basically do what I'm doing out in the mountains. I mean, they were actually bred by a tax collector to keep bandits away, so they're very territorial, but yet you can still take them inside. Like I've presented with them in public places, and I mean, they're just sweethearts. You can't leave the room because everybody
Yeah.
flocks to them and wants to scratch their floppy ears. But
Yeah.
so, anyways, I was going to start with those guys. So I found a woman. There was an ad in the paper when I came out of the field. I found this woman that I called her. She had Doberman. She said in the ad, she's like, "Oh, I have 3 left," and I was looking for 3 brothers. And she's like, "Well, come on down." So I went down there, looked at them. I basically show up to her house. She kind of guides me into her barn. She's got this makeshift dog crate with a couple of heat lamps on it, and she opens this little door, and these 3 little pop can sized dogs come out. And they're
Oh,
little big bellies and their floppy ears. And Bishop ran right up to me and sat right between my legs and just stared at me. And I was like,
There's the
"Oh
kiss of
boy!"
death, and you're
that's
done.
all she wrote, and that was
Yeah,
all she
yeah,
wrote.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the
Uh-huh.
end. Bye. Nice meeting you.
Oh man, when
Pretty
they have
much.
those little fat bellies, they're the
I know, and
cutest.
Dobermans have really fat bellies. Like boxers have the
Yeah.
same. They're just little squishy, eat the bellies.
Yeah,
Oh,
I know. They're just adorable. And
oh
Oh.
so I
man.
was talking to her, and I actually had, before I went down there, because she told me they were like $750 a piece, and I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, that's
they're
a lot
not
of
cheap.
money."
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
wow.
No, and that was actually on the cheaper end for
Yeah.
what you can purchase them for.
Yeah,
Mhm.
fair.
And I've always rescued most of my, actually all my dogs I've rescued, so felt funny about buying them, but I was like, I really want
Yeah.
to try Dobermans and go
Yeah.
this route, and this seems like a good option, and there's 3 boys here.
Hmm.
So she looks at me and she goes, "Well, the hard part is going to be able to choose which one you take home." And I was like, "Well, about that." And I was like,
Funny you
I told her
mention
what I
it.
was doing, and she said, she's like, "Well, I love what you're doing." And she said, "They're $750 a piece." And I remember it's like, "Well, I'm going to go pull more money and I'll be back." And I got my vehicle knowing that I had all the money in my pocket that I had.
Yeah.
It was $750, and that's all I had. I was driving down the road going, "Well, what do I do? I don't have a way to get more money." So I called her back up and I was like, "Look, I have $750. That's all I have. I was trying to figure out a way to get more money because I really want these dogs, but
Right.
can we cut a deal? Can I make you payments later?" And she said, "You know what? If you take good care of them and promise, to always keep them safe, then take all 3 of them for $750."
No way. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
That's
Wow.
the first thing and only thing I've ever bought on Black Friday. So
Well,
it was my Black Friday
Well, you
deal.
got quite a Black Friday deal, I will say.
Oh, I
That's
really
Wow.
did. I really did. And she was, unfortunately, I guess she was just recently diagnosed with cancer, so she was like trying to find a home for him, and
Oh, shame.
okay.
so it worked
Shame.
out for everybody. That she was able to find these boys a home and focus on her health, and I was able to start start my family with these guys. So
Yeah,
and then
that
Well,
is
and
incredible.
I bet that they love that she also loved that they were going to stay together. I think dog people love that when
yeah,
when they can stay together with their litter
Yeah,
mates. It's nice.
absolutely.
So
yeah,
Very
that's
sweet.
something that's unusual. I tell them that
yeah,
a lot. I'm like, you guys kind of live a spoiled life. You know, you get to
yeah,
run around with the
exactly.
horse all the time. You don't
Yeah.
Yeah,
understand. Those dogs look
absolutely.
at that.
All right, well, here you go. So we're at the point you've got your whole crew together, which is 3, 4, 5 of you at the time. And I know at this point you have, I don't know, lots of horses and other dogs, and you're on a little farmstead. Um, so you've got your crew together. So I kind of want to fast forward, if that's okay, and set up
Yeah,
like a
no.
little scenario. Um, I just want to talk about how does range riding work to support not only the wolves, but also you work with ranchers a lot. This is the whole thing. So let me set up a little bit of a scenario. Let's say I'm a rancher and I've spotted wolf activity near my cattle, and I don't want to just head out and shoot them or hunt them down. So I call you. And so I do want to be clear with listeners. Often ranches and public land coincide, meaning often land that wolves are operating on is the same land that ranchers have been given access to by the government or the Bureau of Land Management. And I'm not sure if that's the case with what you're dealing with, but that can often be the case where, you know, they graze their cattle on BLM land. So rightfully so, wolves also have access to these lands. They've been there a lot longer than ranchers have. So Daniel, walk us through your methods and the process you and your crew go through in this scenario.
Yeah, definitely. And so you have a good point. Wolves are pretty much anywhere where there's cattle, whether we're talking like the federal grazing allotments, like you're talking about, that are leased from the United States Forest Service, or private
Okay.
land. So
Right. Okay.
that's one of the things that I realized in the beginning. Like the programs were all set up for just the grazing period, which is generally 5 to 6 months, and it's common sense for me looking at it from a ground perspective and having the knowledge and behavior of wolves and cattle and how ranches work and how they can kind of interact with each other in positive and negative ways. That's not sufficient. Like
Right.
wolves don't go, oh well, they're off federal land and they have the no trespassing
So we can't
sign
go
and barbed
there.
wire
Yeah,
fence.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
sorry.
Right. Guys,
Gotta
it's
go
the off
somewhere
season.
else.
Guys,
Wrap it up,
right.
guys. We got to move on. Yeah, right.
If that was
Yeah.
the case, they would be naturally coming in from Canada. They wouldn't have their passports, so we would
That's
have no
right.
scenario. So when you look at it like that and you go, okay, this is a situation that, if unguided, will probably end up going south for the wolves, for the ranchers, for everybody.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing a lot of the times in these like big mainstream, well, I'll call them debates to be diplomatic, but a lot of the times they're
Yeah.
fights between ranchers and conservation organizations for many
Right.
different reasons. But
Yes.
that might be a section 6 or question 6. So we'll just stick to the methods. Um, so in the beginning, for instance, when I started, there was no demand, so I was easily able to supply it because nobody was really interested. So getting my foot in the door
Yeah.
is step one, and then really learning about what was the issues with ranching and wolves, and a lot of it is just fear-based. So
Uh-huh. Right.
when you look at that and you go, okay, you're kind of assessing the situation. So right now, to go back to your scenario, if you're a rancher experiencing issues, whether it's on public land or private land, and I can help offer a service, basically we connect. I come out to the ranch, I do an assessment, we talk about what the ranch actually wants. What are your goals? And that's something that a lot of times is skipped over, and that's something that will actually increase the divisiveness of this subject. It will
Right.
build,
Yeah.
it'll
That makes
increase the
sense.
rift
Yeah.
between folks when you're
Right.
coming to a ranch saying, here's what you have to do to save wolves, instead of going,
Yeah.
what do you need to succeed with
Mhm.
wolves in the landscape? And that's a different approach that I take
Yeah,
than
absolutely.
most. So
Because it doesn't put them on the back foot. You're asking questions. You're in
yeah,
their space and
yeah.
you're asking questions about what their needs are, and then they can actually hear you.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's something
Yeah.
that's incredibly powerful. I mean, you're
Yeah.
creating a unique, genuine relationship with
Right.
this
Mhm.
person.
Yes,
That's something
'cause
that's missed a lot. A lot of people
right.
look at them as like, oh, you're a rancher, and that's reciprocated by going, oh, you're just an environmentalist. When we should be looking at each other as
Right.
like, actually, we're human beings, and we're just trying
Yeah.
to survive. And we come to
Let's.
the table maybe with
Yeah.
different perspectives, but we have the
Yeah.
same unified goal. So
Right.
for me, when I start this, it's like, all right, well, you don't want wolves to eat your cattle. That's basically your bottom line. Is I
Right.
don't. I mean, at the end of the day, the ranchers that I work with and most of them that I've met, they're not anti-wolf necessarily. They're more anti losing their livelihood. They're more
Yes.
anti losing their culture. They're more anti
Right.
being force fed something without any support. And that's something that I've
Yeah.
tried to, get on the landscape before wolves are there. Like, for instance, in Colorado, it's like if we have something in place to support these individuals, we can outright sometimes eliminate conflict or at least diminish it to the amount that it's something that folks can deal with mentally and physically. So, because there's so much effort that has to be put in this to do this the right way, and that's something that, like when ranchers call me in your scenario, it's like they don't have that option, right? So
Right.
generationally, they've been taught, well, I just delete the issue and it goes
Right.
away. And that's not something that's obviously legal. It's morally not sound. And at the end of the day, it's just not effective. Like what we see is when we go lethal in areas, you go lethal there again because nothing's changed.
It's not effective. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, it's correct. I mean, you're basically the definition of insanity. You're doing the same thing, expecting different results. And it's like, that's just really ignorant. So what I do is I'll try and establish, like for instance, I'll just walk you through one of the ranches that I work with currently right now. He's got 3 wolf packs around him. So when he, requires help, like in the beginning, he got a hold of me. I went out there. I asked him, what do you need? What do you envision is success for you? And what would you like?
Right.
And then I go, okay, I know that the wolves want to just live. They just want to be like thriving on the landscape, unfettered by human activity. So that's an easy one. You just want to be left alone. And technically, the ranchers just want to be left alone by the wolves. So my method, I guess we go to that point now, is to show up and work your butt off like crazy. So you're basically overlapping your efforts over the most potential conflict-ridden timeframes and locations. So
what does that look like? Yeah,
so wolves are crepuscular animals, for instance.
Which means what?
Yeah, so like the term nocturnal, they're active at night. Term diurnal, they're active during the day. Crepuscular is a term that means that they're active during dawn and dusk primarily.
Okay.
And why that is because they're taking advantage of their natural prey base, ungulates being deer, hoofed mammals being deer, elk, moose, cows, and some, scenarios. They're taking advantage of that lighting difference primarily. Like my horses will see really well during the day. They see really well at night. But the way their vision's set up, they're not stereoscopic vision. So they don't see that well. They can't gauge depth that well in range when it's that flat lighting at dusk and dawn. So wolves have naturally taken advantage of that. So that's how they survive. So if you look at that and you apply that over how we do conflict mitigation for the most part, let's say from a lot of state agencies and how their operations are ran, like their employees have to quit at 5, right?
Right.
So from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. is the most ineffective time to be out there to
exactly
conflict potentially.
Right.
It might be a really good time to locate cattle, which I do. Like during the day, you use that time to locate the herds, make sure that they're healthy, check for behavioral differences because that's usually the first indicator that something's wrong.
Right.
But at the end of the day, 5 p.m. shows around and the wolves start to, kind of stir, and they're like, well, let's go down the valley. And then everybody leaves. So that was part of the problem originally. It's like, this is not good. That's not conducive to building actual results. Yeah.
Right.
So the method is you basically put yourself out there during the critical times. You overlap your activity around the cattle during those critical times so that when wolves come in, they're associating basically a negative stimulus. So for my time in captivity working with wolves, Wolf Haven is one of 3 pre-release facilities for the Mexican gray wolf, and we would utilize aversive conditioning methods and techniques to basically associate humans with bad. When you see a human, you need to turn around and run. You need to get the hell out of there because what that means is that there's going to be potential conflict, right?
Right.
The human's either going to go, okay, well, if I could see you, a lot of people will just, they'll shoot these animals or terminate them in other ways. So my goal is to instill a natural fear, basically, into wolves for humans. So when they see a human or they see a human related, like a outbuilding, a car, anything attached to human society, that they have a immediate fear response. They go, okay, that's dangerous, and that's
And
something that generally,
you're doing this by like the dogs are peeing everywhere. Like they smell your human scent. There's lots of activity. You're on a
yeah,
horse. Like, are you at any points like if you come into visual contact with a wolf, do you and the dogs chase them, or is just
it
seeing
depends.
them enough?
It just depends. Like a lot of the times, a human presence is enough. We
Okay.
actually
Mm-hmm.
have had to, kind of pursue them when they're in certain areas that if you don't, that their presence will most likely lead to conflict.
Right,
At
right.
that point, you kind of want to put some pressure on them.
Yeah,
That's
because they're going
something
to
that,
see three big black dogs. I mean, I don't know if they care
yeah,
what color they are, but the size of them is going to be like, okay, that's something they really don't want to get in a fight if they don't have to. This is not their goal.
yeah.
But
So basically,
that's a question though. Like, what if there were 4 wolves and
so,
you
so,
have
so that's this is a good example. These are good questions, you
if
guys.
you have one wolf that I would understand they would run, but if there was more than one, I wonder if they wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, no. If there's 1 to 2 animals, the lads can put enough pressure on them just with me there as well on the
Yeah.
back of a horse.
Yeah.
That's enough to scare them away. If you notice in that picture they gave you where they're in their little hunting jackets, they have
yeah.
leashes around them. That's
Yeah.
because
Oh,
there was so much wolf activity. I don't want them to leave my side, or at least I want the
okay.
option
I
to be
was
like, nope.
wondering about that too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
interesting.
usually, like I don't run them with leashes or jackets when I'm actually having them
Right.
actively scout and pursue, because that's something that they can get tangled in the woods.
Yeah.
Like they don't wear collars or anything. So to answer your question, yeah, you're associating. So let me back this up. I go off on all these tangents because it's such a cool topic, man. I'm so passionate.
It's
But
all good.
so carnivores and just wildlife in general, they take the path of least resistance. They're primarily water, just like you and I. So they're taking the easiest route to survive, because already surviving is a complicated matter, right? So that's one thing, is that you're basically you're utilizing your presence to act
Yeah.
as a negative stimulus,
Right.
and
Right.
then that can be a cumulative process, right? It could be
Yeah.
they come into the herd, I show up, they run away.
Yeah.
Maybe
Because that's
that
on
lasts for
repeat.
2
It's not
days.
one time and then you
Right.
disappear.
Yeah.
You're
Correct.
they're getting this over and over again. Like it's not worth it at some point.
Correct. And
Yeah.
and you also can step it up. But so like, oh man, this is such. I always wish we had like days to talk about this. But anyways,
Yeah.
so like how horses work, pressure and release. I ask a horse to stop by gently pulling on the reins. I don't want to
Right.
slam those reins on, because that means I have to slam those reins on and potentially, make that horse uncomfortable each time I need him to stop. No, that's
Right.
not the goal. I
Right.
want the softest cue possible. And the same
Mhm.
thing goes with wolves. Like I just want me being there to be scary enough to where like this
Got
is
it.
not worth it. Now,
Yeah.
if you come back into that herd later and say, let's say I just chased you, 2 days ago, and the wolf's like, man, I'm still really hungry, and that still looks like a good option. I'm going to check it out again. I'm going to go in the herd. Well, what I'll do is I'll chase them a little bit farther, and then if they repeat the process, maybe I'll use like rubber buckshot, or maybe I'll
Okay.
use another level of stimulus, negative stimulus, that we're attaching to this.
Yes.
Basically, me being here in this herd, we're associating that
Right.
negative
Mhm.
stimulus to that herd,
Right.
to where they're like, wow, I went back in and he shot me in the butt with some rubber buckshot.
So
And it
got
didn't
it.
hurt me,
Yeah.
It didn't kill me, but
Yes.
that's probably not worth it.
It's getting
like,
rather irritating. Yeah. Uh-huh.
correct.
Yeah.
And then as
Mhm.
long as you can keep stepping that up,
Yeah.
they learn. They're being conditioned. It's like when you touch
Right.
a hot stove
Right.
when you're a kid, nobody really, your parents tell you it's hot. You don't grasp that, obviously, because you touch it. Takes that one time and you're like, man, I touched that once. It was really bad. I don't want to ever
Yeah.
do it again. So the same principle goes for these guys. That's one thing that with this method is highly successful, because then you're actually taking a pack of wolves, associating, like, you don't hunt this false prey base on the landscape. You go back to your natural prey base, and then if you can actually have those wolves hold that territory,
Right.
you have a nice equilibrium between the ranch's needs, the rancher's wants and visions, and the wolves' needs and the wolves' wants. So you
Well, and
basically
But
foster
this works
balance.
for
So
Yeah.
exactly, and this works for a wolf's brain because this is how they raise their pups. Like you step out of line, you get a little
yeah,
growl or a little
yep,
bite, but you don't go full bore on them. And they just sort of like, okay, that's a warning, and I don't, and they kind of instinctually know as pups, I'm not going to push that forward because I already know what's going to happen. I'm going to get
correct.
really put in line by my mom if I'm not listening. And this is like in a wolf mentality too. You're pushing them. All right, you use these rubber buckshot, whatever. You're not actually hurting them, but that's going to make sense to them. And I love how like you obviously know wolf minds so well, and this is what's so great about your work is that you're working actually on that wolf level, which is going to be the most
Yeah,
effective way.
and the cow level, you have to balance both,
Right. I was
right?
going to say, you also have to know how the cows work. Right. Yeah.
You
Right.
have to know how
Yeah.
they use a landscape. You have to know when they're distressed and why they're distressed. Then you have
Yeah.
to take these pieces of this puzzle and kind of zoom out to a 30,000-foot level and go,
Hmm.
okay, because like we said earlier, wherever wolves are right now in the state that I live in, there's cattle. So
Yeah.
there's
Right.
overlap.
Yes.
Hmm.
Conflict becomes a choice at that point. And I've said
Yeah.
that numerous times because it's a choice of not doing anything. And by making that
Mm.
choice, we're actually forcing these communities to look at these animals as a problem.
Right.
Aha.
So if we can actually go,
Interesting.
okay, well, here's a service, Rancher A, we're going to help eliminate conflict. I mean, I've literally helped folks, which is an honor to be that catalyst, to be helping and
Hmm.
learning with these ranchers. But I've
Yeah.
had them go from the only good wolf's a dead wolf to sending me pictures and videos of them in their cattle pastures because they're
Yeah.
like, it's not a
You know,
threat. So
Right.
we've
that
gone
is
past the perceived
huge. Right.
issue, the perceived problem, because that's part of this book chapter that I'm writing. It's like the actual problems with wolves are generally more of a perceptual problem than
Yeah.
actual issues with wolves.
Of
It's more of like
course.
I'm going to
Of
lose my
course.
livelihood
Of course.
if the government has pushed this on me. What else are they going to push on me? And that's something that
Yeah.
you have to understand from the rancher's point of view. It's like
Right.
they
True.
haven't had to deal with this variable, and when they had to, generationally speaking, they dealt with it in a much different way. We're just at this
Yeah.
point in human evolution going, well, there's a way forward that we don't actually have to
Here's a
destroy
different
things to
way.
have
Yeah.
every.
Right.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Right.
exactly. Like we
Hmm.
can
Yeah.
have both
Right.
on the landscape,
Well,
and
and
that's an important realization. So
Yes.
I'm
Huge.
sitting here thinking too, the fascinating part to me is that if you take a step back and go to that a little bit, the psychology of just how people interact with each other, and I'm just thinking about what you said when you go up to them and you start with, what do you need? And you're
Mm.
saying, you actually matter to me.
Mm.
And you
yeah,
approach them with respect and with an acknowledgement that they are a valid entity. And just because
Hmm.
you're an environmentalist, we don't have to be enemies, right?
that's
And
that's a thing. Yeah,
that's what I think is so
nailed it.
fascinating about this, is that I feel like this conversation over and over again, we've had a couple of conversations with wolf people and wolf conflict. And what I think is you're actually the most important thing is what the human beings maybe can take from this, which is we can be different and
Yeah,
coexist in
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
peace.
And
Yeah.
And
beyond
but
that, actually,
but
and we can
Yeah.
respect,
thrive.
we
Right.
can
Right.
thrive,
Thrive.
but we have to be open to respecting each other.
We have to be
That's
open to
Well, that's
having
the
a
thing.
conversation to start, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
And not assuming we know, like the only good wolf is a dead wolf. Well,
And
I
the
can think of
only
some.
rancher is the worst person, right? We
Well,
can't
that's what
assume
I'm saying.
that.
Yeah,
I can think of some changing some words around about political parties, and it's like, not to get weird, but it's just like this is vital for our world.
Yeah, it
oh
really
no,
is.
this is this topic I've learned. I remember I had a friend coming with me to a book release, the book that was on my work, and she left after I spoke, and she's like, "You've really started talking more about how this problem is universal throughout
Yeah.
so many issues that we face today in a
Yeah.
divisive manner. We come at it as I'm going to win this fight, and that's
Right.
what we a lot of the times when you're talking about the subject of wolves, like people come to it colliding with each other, saying I'm going to win this fight, and what I'm
Right.
Yeah.
trying to do is stop the war. I don't want to win
That's
the fight.
right.
I want this to stop.
Because nobody wins when you come in with your dukes up, right? Nobody
Exactly, and
wins. Yeah.
that's what, like there was a gentleman, the guy that I was just telling that story about that I worked with. He was the second person I've ever written for, and he just told me we were doing an interview for someone else, and I left actually, and he said this, and it really touched my heart because he said, and this is a guy that, he's got 3 wolf packs living around him. I mean, he
Right.
lives in a Nat Geo video every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He goes, when this first started, there was only one person that came to me and asked, what can I do to help you?
Mm.
And that was Daniel. And that about brought me to tears even right
Yeah.
now. I get to kind of, because I'm like,
Because
it
what's
seems
the
such
goal?
a common sense. Yeah,
Right.
that's where it's
Yeah.
like, for me, it's like, well, I came to okay, so let's back this up a notch. It's like, this subject is about, it's being fueled by hate and
Right.
disconnect and
Yep.
ignorance.
Yeah.
So I basically came to open-hearted with love and developed a respect, a
Yeah.
camaraderie. I mean, a friendship.
what it
now,
is.
A deep friendship with these folks, because
Mhm,
it's like,
mhm.
I came here going, and I want this to work out for you and wolves. And I came here full on,
Yeah.
full disclosure, and anybody that works with me knows that. It's like, I came here to help wolves, and
Yeah.
then I realized the fates of rural America and wolves and so many other things are intertwined. So it was like, oh,
Right.
this is a realization that I have to find balance between all these things if I want my
Yeah.
goals to be fulfilled. And that's something that is really powerful, because if we were just trying to win the fight, we're just perpetuating the war. But by actually trying to help folks and sincerely delve into their world from their perspective and find a solution that suits everybody, you're creating a paradigm shift, like a mental shift in that person. That's something that will last.
1000%. Yeah.
Well, and
that's like,
and this is where,
gonna stand.
Yeah.
you said respect, and I think we can talk about loving wolves, and but you don't have to love a wolf to value them and
Right.
understand what their value is, and you have to respect them. And I think so. This is so. Daniel, you're out there, right? You're dedicating your life to this often really misunderstood species that are so much like we are. I mean, like
Yeah.
Jen referred to, like, go read Rick McIntyre's series all about Yellowstone wolves and tell me that we are not kindred beings after reading these series. But I think what's really important to understand, and what I think you can bring to farmers and ranchers, is why are they so important? Why are wolves as apex predators so critical to a healthy and balanced working ecosystem?
Yeah. And that's a big part of it. I mean, you have to help folks first get through the conflict. Like when you're a rancher and you're looking at potentially your whole culture and livelihood and your family's generation and legacy
Right.
go down the toilet because of this animal or the presence of this animal, it's hard to look at any other positive aspect that wolves could ever offer. Most people are like, they're I mean, we've demonized them as much as we've made them stuffed cuddly animals. So
Oh,
and they're not
absolutely,
vicious.
absolutely.
They're a wild animal.
They're the
They're a
reason
beautiful
they're
animal,
the
yeah.
reason you have Doberman pinschers working with
I was
you.
going to say,
Except
that's
that,
the other thing. When you're talking to some folks that just don't understand that, and they're like, I can't stand wolves, and they have their cattle dogs running around. It's like, but there's definitely a connection there. There's a deep-seated,
Right.
I mean, at this point in our lives, I think, what is there? I think most people have dogs now. I just heard a statistic on that on a TED Talk.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like an atavistic, ingrained part of our life now. Dogs are
Right.
just with you. That's just part of it. Oh man, I'm getting off sidetrack here. You asked
No,
a question.
no.
There's
So
so
the
many good
question
things
is,
to talk
so
about.
the
Yeah.
question is,
know.
like, talk to us about wolves as apex predators. Like, help us understand why they're so important to a balanced, like the balanced, healthy ecosystem. Like, without them, we've seen what happens, and it's not great.
No, and that's something that, I mean, it's not just wolves, right? It's every animal, but these apex predators hold a special spot. I mean, they're also classified as keystone species. I'm sure you may have heard that.
Yeah,
for sure.
And a keystone, for anybody that doesn't know what that is in like construction terms, a keystone is actually the center brick that looks really odd in an archway, in a brick arch. That's what holds that entire arch together. If you take that brick out, the arch falls. So the brick is basically the keystone species, which we are not actually one of. There's been a lot of studies done that if humans were to disappear, the land would actually thrive.
It would actually be better. Yeah.
So we're not a keystone species.
Actually, the
much as we
hammer
would
that
like to
breaks
be.
out the keystone. Oopsie.
But what's interesting is we're like a very powerful species that sits in one of those columns on the side of this arch. So these keystone species, though, they're incredibly important because they kind of they're a check valve for many other species. They help keep everything in balance, and that's one thing that nature is perfect at: is finding equilibrium, is finding and maintaining that balance. We're the actual only animal on this planet that throws that balance out of whack.
Yes,
basically,
continually.
due to managing for different reasons. Like wild animals, every one of them are necessary. Like the biodiversity on this planet is the fuel that makes this planet go around.
Yeah.
This planet is what keeps us alive. So
Yep.
to have these keystone species, to have these apex predators, I mean, they're there for a reason. They're part of what keeps this system flowing in the natural, positive way. And we've seen the negative ramifications of having them extirpated from the landscape. I mean, you look at Yellowstone. I mean, there's overgrazing. There's too many deer. I mean, we even had a case here where all the deer in Colville got blue tongue. It's rickettsial disease, and we lost almost every white-tailed deer here.
Oh,
That
wow.
wouldn't have happened if we had, I mean, in that specific little geographic area, but it just ran through the town. I mean, these are deer that are being fed corn from Walmart in people's front yards. There's no apex predator to govern that, to help sanitize that herd, and that would happen in the wild. Like, if we let that go, that sick animal would have been eaten and cleansed from the herd in many ways. You look at it. So we have to acknowledge the fact, and we're getting to the point, I think, in human evolution that we were talking about, that each one of these animals is necessary and critical. We're also, I think, starting to realize that they're sentient as well. They're other beings. It's like I know these wolves just like I know these ranchers, and they're all individuals, and each individual matters. That's one thing that's really important to me to hit the topic of is like, wolf recovery is not a numeric metric that when we hit it, we've succeeded, yay, we're done. It's like, no, because that means you're only looking at these animals as a general number. You don't care about the individuals, and those individuals comprise the packs, and those packs are what makes the wolf tick, so to speak. That's what they live on.
100%.
So, and we're seeing that now. I mean, the lethal removal has actually made things worse in many ways. So, and I kind of digress again, but wolves are incredibly important to have the landscape to keep everything in balance. And that's something that, rural America hasn't had to deal with, though, since the 1930s, pretty much, except for the recent, wolves coming back into place. So
because I mean, in the mid to whatever early 1900s, I mean, we in some areas of the country, like Yellowstone, again, I'll say that eradicated the species, and I think, and the other thing that wolves do is that they're discerning. They like you mentioned, like they weed out the sick individuals in these herds, so they're keeping the herds healthy, but they're also keeping them in check. And they're also doing them a service. They've done necropsies on elk where one that they killed, their whole mouth was like rotting out. Literally, they put this poor animal out of its misery. And this is keeping that herd healthy as well, which you also want. So it's like they just do these. The balance is incredible.
We can't orchestrate that as
we
human
cannot
beings.
orchestrate that.
No,
Absolutely, Jen. That's exactly right. That's such a great way to say it.
Jen, you bring up a good point, which makes me think, because I got all this information rattling around my head. It's like that's the exact opposite way that humans manage herds. That's the exact opposite way we hunt. Like we go in there for the most genetically viable animal, quote unquote. I mean, they're all important to me, but we're like, where's the biggest buck? Oh, the biggest guy,
the biggest rack,
animal.
All the
and I'm gonna take that animal from the herd, leaving again, I'm air quoting here. I know you can't see me, but we leave the less genetically viable animals to procreate and maintain the herd. So it's like we actually, as humans, manage everything from a human-centric point of view, and what benefits us, what doesn't, and that's how we play basically Jenga with that archway, that brick archway. We're pulling out blocks randomly of their level of importance to us and how they impact us, instead of realizing that they have a whole other world that they interact with.
Right, 100%. And we're also pulling out bricks that we don't even know what those bricks mean. We're just we're dum-dums, just, let's pull this out. And and so we're touching this already, so let's dig in. I mean, we're talking about different aspects of wolf conservation, obviously, and lots of people are working to support and amplify them we're trying to do this in a more positive light, like you were talking about before. But like you said, they still remain a bone of contention and are persecuted. So do we need to change our definition of wolf conservation? I'm using air quotes now. And you have a unique perspective and vantage point. So what's your definition of wolf conservation? And then later we'll circle back, but what your specific goals are.
Yeah, I guess that's a great question, I think, Kate. I think my definition of wolf conservation is much different. Like, I will feel like we have succeeded in recovering that species when we've helped cultivate a want for the public that actually lives with them to have in the landscape. Like, it's not conservation. We're not successful just because wolves are on the ground, right? I mean,
Right.
I'm not trying to pick on Colorado, but look how that ended up. We had wolves on the ground, boom, success. If we stamp that as wolf conservation success, like some have, I don't think that's successful. I mean, we've had a bunch of conflict out there. We had to end up, some of those wolves died in capture-related injuries. Some were, it's like there's all kinds of issues. And then they're in captivity now, and then they release more wolves. So for me, wolf conservation is when we actually have at least mitigated conflict down to a nominal sense, to a nominal state, and cultivated an importance for the community that lives with them to see them on the landscape, to have a want for them to be on the landscape. And I don't need it to, like you said, I don't need them to love them. Right. Maybe it's a moral obligation that we've come to terms with the person. Maybe it's that they have actually turned and they're like, I actually see how important they are. Whether it's an environmental reason. I don't care if it's like I've created a revenue stream for certain ranches that I work with to have wolves in the landscape. Like I do other basically activities that bring people out on the landscape on horseback, guide them through areas, talk about wolves, have them meet the rancher, and then I pay the rancher for that time. So not only am I eliminating conflict, I've created a revenue stream for them, which cultivates a want for them to be there. They're like, well, I don't have a problem with them. I'm now getting some money. So let's actually keep these wolves here. This is a good pack. I don't want them to be disturbed or killed. So for me, that's true success. When you have a person that goes from the only good wolf is a dead wolf to sending me videos on his camera because he's like, wow, they're beautiful, and I can see them interacting with my cattle.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's true wolf conservation.
That's
when you actually have it.
Yeah.
That's something that's
we're now on an we've elevated both. We've elevated our minds, like the farmers and the ranchers, and I include myself in that. This is not a condescension to them, like they're stupid and we have to educate them. It's just we all need to be educated to a level of we all do. And then the wolf is brought up to, we're on an even playing field now. And that's when, you and I talked before, in the pre-interview, you were talking about real wolf recovery and what this actually means and looks like to get to these points.
Yeah, no, I actually 100% agree, and that's a beautiful way to put it, I think. So
great. Well, then we're done here. Perfect. Who needs you? Who needs Daniel Curry? Thank you very much, everyone.
We're done with this.
There we go. Problem solved. Yeah,
no, but
well
that's simple, guys.
But I'll meet you. I'll be out in 4 hours. Get me a horse. We'll start. You were the first person who brought this to my attention of, do we need to change the definition of wolf conservation? That was a new thought and new idea for me, because it isn't just like wolves are back, we're good. The natural world will work it out, because that's what it does. When you put an apex predator like us, who doesn't know what they're doing, and pulling all these different bricks out of this beautiful arch, it's going to be a problem. And I think that's where, look, we live in a very political time. Wolves are a political issue. All apex predators are. I mean, bears are, sharks are, wolves are. This is just where we are right now. But if we can get Daniel Curry into the conversation, this is where let's have a conversation to start with. And you're talking about getting this to an individual level, where individuals are now on their own, doing their own conservation of wolves, for an example, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically what I'm trying to do is help ranches become more resilient during the, expansion of wolves back into their native range. So, I mean, they're always going to need help, I think. Even when wolves are downlisted, they'll actually probably need it more when they're downlisted, in my opinion, due to
Yes,
the
I
political
think so too.
nonsense that comes
Right.
with that.
Well, that's
Mhm.
bears
But
again. I mean, let's not go
yeah,
quiet here, right? Yeah.
no, that's, I mean, that's something that this service, I think, needs to expand dramatically instead of,
Yes.
become
Right.
quieter. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you want to always make sure that they're doing the best they can on their own and always have backup. But
Yeah.
I mean,
fair.
really, what it's coming down to is what we were talking about earlier. And that's something that I realized when I first moved here to help wolves and realized the importance of ranchers
Hmm.
and their involvement in that process. Not that they can accomplish the goals of a range rider, but just them being willing to
Yeah.
have you on their land, them being willing to
Mhm.
look at this in a different light. It's like,
For
Right.
sure.
we have to change our mind if we want to change our world first.
That's right.
You don't
Well,
change your
yeah.
world
No.
to suit your
Right.
mind. And that's what a
Well,
lot of us
right.
in this
Right.
political times are doing, is trying to, well, I'm
Yeah,
going to just
right.
change the world to suit my mind. And it's really
Right.
like,
Right.
well, if we actually look at this in a different perspective, we can look at this in a much more beautiful way.
Yeah,
in a much more
absolutely. And
balanced
And in a
the
much
ranchers,
much less resistant way
Yeah.
also.
Mhm.
Yes,
know?
yeah.
and
like
it's
you
easy
said.
for and it's easy for Jen and I to be like, geez, these ranchers, like, how do you not understand? Like, wolves are I feel like they are our absolute species spirit, like the kindred. They are us and we are them. But it's a matter of really understanding and yeah, I've lost my train of thought, but yes.
No, I
But
think I know where
like
you're
you
going.
said,
It's like,
yeah,
how can
and
we,
right,
how
yeah.
we
How
can
could
look
you
at them
not?
in their
Right,
perspective and go, how would you
right,
not love wolves? How do you not see the
right,
importance, the
right.
intrinsic value, the environmental niche that they
Exactly.
feel?
Right. But
But,
Right.
they're out
you know,
there. They're the ones who can do the conservation, not me. I'm just sitting here
yeah,
on this
that's the
great
thing.
podcast, but they're the ones who are really out there and they care about the land. They care about a lot of
Correct.
wildlife. So
And that's
that's
where it's like, if we can eliminate the conflict, Kate and Jen, it's like, then we can actually help empower those folks that are living with wolves
Right.
to be
Yeah.
to be the stewards of the land that we need them to
yes.
Yeah.
be. But if we leave them to their own
Yes.
devices and just say, hey, good luck with
Yeah.
this, like, that's not fair. That's not right.
No.
And it's not
And
going to be
and
Stewards,
productive.
it's
stewards
not.
of the
It's
land.
not.
Stewards of
And
the
that
land.
actually,
There we go. Yeah.
yeah, that actually goes back to just I know we've been all over the place. I apologize, but that, defining wolf conservation, it's like, I'd also like to include just the redefinition of conservation in general, because when
Yeah.
we say conservation, we think immediately land and animals, which is incredibly important. We're at the point now, like I said, with the lack of biodiversity in turmoil, I should say, not lack of. We still have a lot of it, but
Right.
that we also need to, during that process, conserve these cultures and these interests. We don't want those to disappear. Like the rural way of life, the beautiful way of life, it's actually
Right.
living more in sync with the environment than going to like an urban setting. So
Right.
when I think about wolf conservation, it's like, I was talking to this rancher about this. He's a good friend of mine now, and he's like, I really love how you put that, because it feels like you're including us. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely. Conservation needs to be the conservation of all.
Yeah.
Like, I want these wolves to live, and I don't want to see these ranches disappear. Because what a lot of people don't get too is they're like, well, just kick ranchers off public land, and we've solved it.
Exactly
We've
right.
already highlighted that part of this
Yeah.
problem is on private land. We've already,
Yes.
established some of that. But one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that all the private land holdings that these ranches own, if they're kicked off of the land and their ranch goes under, they're going to take all those, 4,000 acres in some situations and break it up into little tiny ranchettes and sell it, because that's what a
Right.
human would do for survival of their own. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Right.
I'll tell you right now, that's not going to create a wildlife
not-
corridor.
no.
That's not going to help wildlife.
Right.
in any
That'll
way.
just compound it by
Now-
100. Yeah,
And
exactly.
I- Right.
Yeah.
And I think also the thing to remember is, even people who are in conservation and care about animals and care about the land, they can be short-sighted and narrow-minded also. Like like you said,
Absolutely.
we have to include everyone. It's like the the eco-terrorist kind of idea. It's like nobody needs to be fighting. We just all need to be. We
just
need
take
to.
a beat.
Everyone counts, right?
Well,
We have to.
That's
Yeah.
absolutely right, Jen. I mean, I think that's an important part of this that's forgotten a lot because of human ego. It's like, well, I want to be heard, and if I'm not standing there and shouting the loudest, then I'm not heard. And it's like,
Right.
sometimes the best way to be heard is to be real quiet. I mean, we have
Yes.
one mouth and 2 ears because we should listen twice as much as we talk, and that's
That's
what
right.
I tried to do at the beginning. Was like,
soundbite.
hey, yeah,
Love
Well,
that.
Daniel,
Curry,
you're
you're way
way
ahead.
too young. But when I was a kid, because I'm almost 60 years old, there was a commercial on TV, and it was really dramatic and kind of annoying, but it's always stuck with me. And it said, if you want to get someone's attention, whisper. And I thought, that's interesting. Yeah. Just
Very
maybe
true, though.
be a little quieter,
A little
actually.
quieter.
Yeah.
Who's the guy? Who's the creep whispering in the corner? Let's listen to
Right.
what he's
Yeah.
saying.
Well, I mean, you walk into a room now that's filled with, quote unquote environmentalists or quote unquote ranchers, and everybody's yelling most of the
Yeah.
time. So it's like there isn't a lot of just quietness, and I think that that calm tone. It's like that's really important, just to listen.
Just to listen.
Because then you actually find out what's the problem, not
exactly.
what's
And again,
exactly
it's back to the top. What's the goal here, right? And I think honestly, all you need to do is be 6'4" with wild hair and walk into a room with 3 Doberman pinchers, and everyone will come right to stand. Like, okay,
it's like
who's
mic
this guy?
drop. Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. So, Daniel, we ask everyone this last question, and it's our favorite question. And you're our third guest to come on our show and talk about wolves and their conservation. Why does this conversation remain so important to have and to keep having?
I think because it's a way that humans can learn how to bridge divisive issues without losing. Wolves can be an amazing teacher for us. And I think that if we could figure out how to wrap our heads around this topic and offer a solution in a way that prevents or that offers benefits to all, then, like we said, a lot of these other divisive situations, I think, could be maybe modeled after this. And that sounds kind of goofy when you're thinking about it, but really you look at how polarizing wolves are and how much, they're in media and people use them as, political levers and funding this is a powerful subject because you're talking about the urban and rural divide. So that's a whole other subject in a way. You're talking about, in many ways, you're talking about Democrats and Republicans, right? You're talking about this divisive thing. And like, for instance, I believe that the bipartisan thing that was designed originally to offer a better solution, a more well-rounded solution. And now I think they're used as, just political levers to create more division between the people. And I think this subject, you walk in a heated room full of ranchers. I've had people strapped to the teeth. It's not easy to walk in there and advocate for balance. And you walk into a room full of environmentalists that are, I've testified on both sides, west, east side, for wolves, for ranchers, because I believe that the balanced approach is the only way that we're going to make headway that benefits everybody. So I think that this subject, this conversation, as you said, is critically important because we're at a point now we're really realizing that there's better ways, and we have to start choosing better options for ourselves, for the environment, for all the inhabitants of the environment. Because of our actions. So it's like,
amen.
Boy, if we get this one down, I think it would help us understand how to bridge these polarizing subjects.
Agree.
Yeah, and the way we treat the other, right? The way we treat animals and nature is such a reflection back on the state of humanity. And I think that's where, it gets me emotional in that heart space. It makes me all choked up to think about the work that you're doing is so critical because it puts us in a space where we can really honor and respect and see this world as only wanting us to survive and thrive. And, like you mentioned before, it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving and honor and respect. And it's time that we get there to begin with and get back there. Not everyone needs to get there to begin with. There's lots of cultures who have been there all the time. My culture, my Western way, hasn't been there for a really, really long time, and we need to get on board with this. And I think that's where, and just thank you so much for talking with us. We are so grateful for the conversation. And I think, this is where we want to know, how can we support you in your work? Are there specific actions we can take to support your initiatives, or what's helpful to you?
Right now I think I ran the for-profit business. It was the first and only for-profit small business in Washington State. for profit's misleading. I never made profit, but so last year I started a nonprofit to basically a 501c3 to scale this service up to the Western U.S. because I've gone to California, Oregon, Idaho,
Wow. Okay, great.
Montana, Colorado, Arizona, and they're all expressing the same problems. I mean, there's other countries that are expressing the same problems. So what I need is to scale this service up. So what that means is I just need help with funding,
money.
with exposure.
Right.
If people don't have, the ability to donate, maybe they can donate time. This information can be found on my website at projectgriph.org.
Okay.
So yeah, but funding's always critical, especially in the nascent stage of a nonprofit. I mean, me and my small human team and my animal team are volunteering a lot of hours. So just to make sure that problems don't arise and that people can still be at the table, once we do get that big picture funding. So yeah, that would help. Follow me on social media. You can find all my, I am not great at social media. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Same.
I'm looking for help there, but the Wolf Ranger is the handle. The Wolf Ranger is the IG handle, the Facebook, the YouTube channel. That's stuff that I just try and, like the little YouTube videos I put out just to show that here's what I'm doing. It's kind of for me, it's just another Tuesday. My brother is like, that was a Tuesday you're under a barn with cougars. That's not normal. He's like, people want to see this. But I was like, oh, okay. So that makes sense. And he's like, yeah, man. He's like, you got to get your life out there more because it's super interesting. And I'm like, to me, it's just my life. But yeah, I mean, check out projectgriph.org. There's all kinds of information there. There's other podcasts that I've done. There's the link to the film.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, I want to watch that. Yeah.
Well, and we love a handsome fella, and you got 3 of them. Those boys are handsome.
Man,
so let's just support them and the horses. And please, it's just all too much. And also, I would say, watch the Colin Erisman movie Range Rider that he did with you. It's such a great short film. I loved it, and but yes, we'll get on your website. Please, everyone, share this episode, get on the website, and even literally, we know how this is, $5, $20, one time. This all makes a difference for you, and the boys need to eat. Let's make sure they get some keep up the good meals and healthy bales of hay. So, Daniel, thank you for everything. Thank you so much for joining us today. And like I said, I'm really glad it's snowing and raining like crazy so that you couldn't work today. So that was helpful to us.
I would still work today.
Just a different kind of work.
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
Yep.
That's true.
Well, thank you guys very much. I appreciate it, Kate.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your thoughtful questions and your approach to the subject. It's very near and dear to my heart. So, and it's something that I think
same
will be a healing thing for a lot of folks.
Agreed.
Once we can get it out there.
Absolutely.
Needed. So, well, thank you very much, you guys, for your time. And
all right, take care.
Back out to the wet north, I guess.
Get out there. No rest for the weary. Thanks so much.
All right, guys. Take care.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to The Takeaway. See what I mean, everyone, about us cantering through that? We were all on horseback at some point, which was super fun. Loved this conversation.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was very lively for sure. And I just really enjoyed his energy and his perspective. And I loved it.
Yeah,
that was great.
Right. Just really hey, what do you guys need from me? Kind of that, just walking into a space and asking questions instead of saying, hey, you guys are, instead of you're wrong, this is the way to do it. It just is everyone balks at that. So we love that. We've heard a little bit of that before, like Karen Vardaman, who we interviewed years ago about wolves. She had the same thing. Just that's the way to do it. So really appreciate just the again, this is why we're what a cool job. And the boys, the lads, the dogs. I mean, he has got quite the crew. So he introduced me to a new idea, and just, it was something that actually, so it was near the end of our conversation. Daniel had mentioned a few things that I actually needed clarity on. So he and I had a short follow-up conversation so he could kind of flesh out some of these ideas that he was talking about. So this new perspective is this: if a person kills a wolf in what they think is in protection of their livestock, there are these ramifications of killing just one wolf, not only to that wolf pack, of course, but ultimately to that farmer and rancher. And I don't know if you remember this, but he mentioned that, and I was like, okay. I'm not sure what the ramifications for the how would that kind of, no pun intended, kind of come back around and bite him in the ass type thing, Yeah. So bear with me here, because this was a new idea to me, and I'm going to try and one that I just he needed to break it down before I could kind of like really get this, and one I hadn't heard before that I think is critical to the success of wolf conservation and ours, meaning ranchers and farmers. So Daniel talked about how wolves think in terms of risk to gain. Do you remember that when he was talking about that, or risk versus gain? Which is where a wolf decides, let's say in a hunting experience, if the prey that they're focusing on is worth their risk to their own personal safety. Mm-hmm. So if they're a small group or they're injured, or because wolves get injured, if they come up against like a big like bison, like they're gonna figure out with horns if this works for them. So if you think about the average size of a wolf pack is anywhere from, they say, from like 2 to 10, like more like 5 to 10 is like an average sized wolf pack, which is small. So the less there are, the more they will focus on taking down a kill that isn't likely to harm them or kill them, weakening their pack size, right? That makes sense.
Right.
So then Daniel talked about, in this whole kind of three-legged stool here, about lethal extraction, or when we kill a wolf to solve a conflict, and how ultimately this will come back to bite the farmer or rancher. So you see a wolf around your livestock, you kill that wolf, but then you've weakened the pack. And because of the wolf's risk to gain mentality, they're like, okay, well, now we have one, potentially lost our best hunter. Maybe they're alpha or female or alpha male. Or two, now we are a smaller pack and we need to get easier prey. So we're going to come back and take down one of your livestock, which is a lot easier than taking down a cow, elk, or bison. We're going to take one of your calves, maybe.
Right. You've just exacerbated the situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if the person takes out a whole pack of wolves, now you've only created a vacuum, like you're saying, for another wolf pack to come in and do the same thing all over again. And the cycle continues. And now you're in this never-ending loop of never solving the problem. And this is where Daniel and his crew steps in. And so, and supporting not only the wolf, but the people who really want to solve this conflict. But and that is why killing just one wolf can exacerbate that human-wildlife conflict. And this was kind of a new idea to me, because it's like, you think, okay, you see a wolf on the periphery of your property near your herd, you're going to be like, well, that makes sense. But it's like the vacuum that it creates. And he's like, this is where this mitigation is so critical in the work that he's doing.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting, because I'd never thought that through. Well, how is killing that wolf,
Right. That's why, I think it's a beautiful example of when you just have a little knowledge and a little information, you make bad choices because you don't know. And so you have to have more information. And that's where I love that he's coming in and saying, hey, I would love to help you, rural rancher, rural farmer, as well as not just kill off these wolves. What do you need? And here's some things that I see. And it sounds to me like the great news about this is they're like, all right, let's try this. Like, it seems like he's getting a good reception, because partly he does know what he's talking about, but also, like you said, how he is approaching these people is in a respectful and a level playing field. Like, I'm on your side. I'm on your side, and I'm also on the wolf side. And I know you might not understand that. And so I think that's the amazing thing about this, is that it's just such a it's such a good example of a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. And like, well, I'm going to kill this wolf and then I'm taking care of the problem. No, you're not. You're actually you're actually ensuring that they're going to come back now. So
right. And the humans are the ones you can educate and rationalize with, right?
Right.
You can't do that with a wolf necessarily.
Exactly.
But if you do understand wolf pack family, the organization, the mentality, if you understand how they work, then it is our job. We are the quote unquote smarter species. Anyway, moving on from that. But yes, you know what I mean. We're the ones who can mitigate this.
Right.
And it is our job. And I think I just love that idea of, hey, this is how you're actually making it worse for you're not solving your problem. You're actually making it worse. And let me just walk you through what I'm talking about. And it comes back to like this mentality that a wolf has, risk to gain.
And that's how he solves it too. It's like make it less appealing for them to come around, like he explained. And they understand that. So you have to learn to speak their language too, as well as the ranchers. And that's the amazing thing about what he's doing. Yeah.
Well, and then he also took this all and he said conservation needs to expand. It needs to grow from being sort of owned in a way by conservationists and environmentalists and scientists to all of us incorporating this perspective into our lives. And I loved that. Let's make like conservation all of ours. That's the only way this can really like change the world, restore and heal it too, you know? And then what that leads to is then you're acting as a steward of the land.
Right. Instead of just a bystander. Like, you know, so many things in life, it's easy to say, oh, that's not my problem. I'm not going to get involved in that. It's like, oh, actually, it actually is your problem. Even though you might not know it or understand that, of course, right? It's,
Totally. And you're right. It's like most of us are bystanders. I do feel like that. I think, you know, everyone we talk to they're the people who are doing all the heavy lifters. They're lifting. We are the bystanders, but how can then we go from this idea to conservation is ours to being a steward of the land? I just loved how he pulled that all together. Yeah. So, please check out Daniel's website, projectgriph.org, and that's Griph, Griph, projectgriph.org, where you can learn more about all things Daniel Curry and donate to his nonprofit. And for sure, check out the short film Range Rider via YouTube. You just have to search Range Rider on YouTube. It pops right up. And of course, all the links are always in our show notes. And on our website, kindredpodcast.co, where you can subscribe to our newsletter. And if you choose to support us too, you can click that little yellow coffee cup on the bottom left-hand corner and buy some coffees, so to speak. Or you can subscribe via Apple Podcasts and be part of our Kindred Plus community and support our little mighty, hopefully thriving also podcast. So thank you so much to Daniel Curry for his insight, his just the energy he has, and he's so dedicated, and he just loves that animal. He loves the wolf, and you can really tell he loves animals. You hear how he talks about his horse Griph. My gosh, that story. And
that's part of the amazing thing too. Is like he gets to ride around on a horse all day with 3 dogs in tow. And
so handsome
and deal with wolves. Those are
I know wolves.
How does it get better?
This is why I'm like crushing on his job. Like
I know
he gets 3 beautiful dogs, the pony of his dreams. He gets to like save wolves and really help people. I mean, this is like the ultimate connecting. How kindred is this? He is really connecting that human to wildlife and really like integrating us and showing how we are not separate or above them, but we're absolutely equals. So thank you so much for listening and connecting to this incredible planet and the people working hard to keep us all above water. Unless you're someone who lives in the ocean, and you should stay there too, which is all legit. All right, everyone. See you next time. Lots of love.
Take care.
Kindred is hosted by me and my sister Jen, produced by Kat Gaddy and myself, sound production and editing by Dan Cooper, original music by Ellie Grace, and our Kindred artwork was created by Lindsay Coffin. Please follow, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts, and feel free to contact us through our website at kindredpodcast.co, where you can also find details about Kindred Plus, our subscription service, as well as links to our social media accounts and show notes.